Hi, Hinsters. I hope you are well. It has been a wee while since I did anything on my YouTube channel, but I am back, coming back, and this time with this here Scorpio season. But first of all, yeah, I hope you have been keeping well. And what I am gonna do from like this Scorpio season, from this this week, this month, is offer free readings to any Scorpio Sun or Scorpio Rising if you book the reading during Scorpio season. So I no longer actually do paid readings, but if you want a reading, please book during your Sun or your Rising sign season. Anyway, yeah, Scorpio season. So I've chosen this tarot card that hopefully you can see. I have a new setup as well if you are a regular Hinster. This obviously looks different to my usual videos, but this is the Kim Krantz deck, The Wild Unknown. You may know that I have used this deck for years now, and this is the card that I just feel really vibes with Scorpio season, and in particular this Scorpio season of 2025, which has the overarching snake year energies as well. But yeah, you can see here the Daughter of Wands or the Page of Wands in traditional tarot. And what are like the classical Scorpio season themes then? Well, we are actually now, as I film, about 12 degrees into Scorpio season. So we're getting like slightly towards the halfway point. And we are in the 8th season of the astrological year. Libra season was that autumn or fall equinox period, and now from Scorpio season onwards we're kind of working our way up to Capricorn season, which will be the winter solstice, and the kind of that will be the last sort of major angular, zodiacally speaking, angular event that we have. But anyway, classic Scorpio stuff. What do we have? We have things that are settling. We have crystallization. Scorpio is a fixed sign, fixed water. I often call Scorpio the secret fire sign, and I also call Scorpio the ice sign. But formally speaking, yes, Scorpio is a fixed water sign. It is the last of the water signs or the water seasons of the astral year. And we've got also here like a kind of quietening, classically speaking, with Scorpio season, and a subversion of emotions. And Libra season, by the way, was kind of actually the real scary, because Libra season was a cardinal season, and that's when a lot of the bigger kind of quote-unquote karmic things happen in cardinal seasons. And Scorpio season is more kind of spooky, aesthetic. Think of like horses when they get scared of like wisps of smoke. It's like, it's something, but it's also nothing. But like that kind of thing can be very like hallmark Scorpio season. And it's perfect, really, this time during Scorpio season to finalize how we feel about something, or to regulate ourselves in some way. And I also wanted to talk about water fixations. So this is like fixed water again, and seeing things to the end. And this could be including obsessions as well. So getting really obsessed with a person or a place, or I don't know, some kind of food you're binging, or some rabbit hole you go down in Scorpio season. And also this is sabotage in Scorpio season, very classic, and undoing from within. But also this is like things like silent power and industriousness. This is the spider spirit. This is also kind of like a nuclear submarine type of vibe. Again, being quieter in Scorpio season, being more subdued, restrained, especially because we have, and I'll make a video on this later, but we have now Mercury in Sagittarius, and we're going to have the Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius starting soon. But that in itself is another omen to keep stum a bit more, to think a bit more before we speak, communicate, or send things. But anyway, yeah. Also, as I said, the overarching snake year energy. This is like the perfect year for Scorpio risings, especially. And a lot of you could find everlasting love, or you could become someone who overcomes a major obstacle to your diligence or discipline, or you're able to unravel some deeply hidden secret, perhaps, Scorpio. And perhaps some Scorpio risings will discover something that's like related to something scorpionic, like DNA science, or like the earth itself, or like skin, as in skin deep things, or like the body's kind of inner workings. These sorts of things can be investigated, and things can be discovered. And also, as Scorpio season began this year, we had the host of Scorpio, who is Mars, in his domicile at 21 degrees of Scorpio. So that's a good omen, I think. And also, this host was conjunct Mercury and trine Jupiter in Cancer and Saturn in Pisces, respectively. So beautiful start to Scorpio season, I think, and something very excellent can be unearthed or kind of mastered in your Scorpio house. So do check your birth chart. Where do you have Scorpio? And something in that house can be again unearthed or mastered during this here Scorpio season. And Mars, the ruler of Scorpio, is malefic. This is, by the way, in traditional Hellenistic terms. I know a lot of people think Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, but not in this traditional system. So Mars is malefic, and yes, malice can be magnified and have huge consequences for some people, and karma and the pulling away of the chair just as you're like about to sit down, or just as you get complacent or comfortable with something or a situation that you lied about, or you're cheated your way through or out of or into, karma, there can still be that scorpionic or scary kind of bite coming through. Although I do think Libra season helped chop and cut and rinse a lot of those like liars and cheaters out, and conclusions have been made already, but Scorpio season can still have a little bit of a freaky nature, scary nature to it. And also I would say in Scorpio season for us to retreat or recoil if we have to, and to take our time and our money and our energy like back from relationships, and let me just turn my notes page, relationships and like social situations that that were draining you, or like where you've not been feeling welcome or like a good fit. And I would also say to stay away from those people who wish to use you as a kind of sounding board, like constantly for their pleasure or for their profit. And the kind of Scorpio Taurus axis, it's always prone to these things, and like having us meet someone just like a tad too zealous or intense or like overpowering. I'd also say to ask ourselves, like, is there something that we want to quit, or is there a feat that we want to achieve? And like the internal motivation this Scorpio season is even more amped up, because again we have Mars, the host of the season, in his domicile, and this is like stopping or pausing drinking for some of us. This is like donating to a place that's in crisis or some critical situation. This is running a marathon for a lot of people. That's just classic Scorpio season stuff. Things like marathons, or like shaving all your hair off, or growing a beard, doing things like this for like charity or a sponsored thing. But also, yeah, a lot of us getting amped up, turned up, revving up, accelerating. In my case, by the way, I just started learning to drive, which is crazy, like for me. finally. But that's something that I have like been really afraid of for years and years. But yeah, finally deciding to take it on. Mars, by the way, is the god of accelerations and initiations. And yeah, that vroom, taking on and tackling. And I think also think about yourself. Like, what is it that you might want to do, for example, for charity, or do for yourself and your personal growth? Maybe you want to learn to swim, or maybe you want to learn, I don't know, ballet, or you want to learn to crochet or something. Also, again, Scorpio season is remaining quiet, but also patient and kind of paying attention to the pattern that someone shows you, the patterns of others. And silence will speak volumes more, and it will tell you everything you need to know. And you too can use silence in kind of tactical ways to let others know. So speaking in silence is very key here. And also in the tarot, we have it's not here, but we have the King of Cups card. And it's this kind of vibe in Scorpio season. So controlled emotions and not letting your emotions get the better of you, and to not take the bait, and to only fight when absolutely necessary. Like only when it's absolutely necessary. Like someone's actually running at you, attacking you, or your reputation is actually publicly being defamed or something like that. Then you can, defend yourself or attack. But other than that, Scorpio season is not the season to retaliate, because a lot of it is just bait into someone's or some places or situations, like silly games or patheticness. Sometimes it's a pathetic person, or a low life person, or a self-hating person who tries to bait you. Also, Scorpio season is always like a great time to more seriously examine ourselves. And it is this sort of celebrity in the dressing room. For years, I've used this analogy with like this transition from Libra into Scorpio season. Libra season being kind of the celebrity walking down the red carpet, and there's all the cameras and the interviewers and the glam and the glitz. And then Scorpio season is kind of like when that celebrity enters her dressing room. She's all alone. Maybe it's like much dimmer lighting or a candle, and there's a big mirror at the dressing table, and she can only look at herself and see herself. And it's kind of this moment of more being sat with yourself and asking those questions of like, why did I even go to that thing? Or why did I even give that person my time? Or like, why am I even saying these things that I don't even think are true? You know what I mean? That's the transition from Libra, which is that Venusian air sign, to Scorpio, which is the Martian water sign. And things have to run deep and feel actually deep and like compact in a way as well, to be worth it in Scorpio season. And there can also be like one or two things about ourselves that we unravel here and that we extract and purge. Mars is the god of surgery as well. And in Sagittarius season, by the way, where we will typically come up and out of the well. So Scorpio season is like the divine well. And we'll come out later from this season either only wild and unruly, or only wise and steady. So for a lot of people, it's like this bifurcation, and we have to go down one. And some people will be both wild and wise by the end of Scorpio season. But the result, I think, more often rests on that sort of cyst or something within us, and like learning our spirit as well, and like something that keeps us entangled, and like what we have chosen to do about it in Scorpio season. So are we to, it's like, yeah, you have a cyst, or like you have something like in your skin, or like in your flesh that you need to extract, and it's not going to be pretty, or it's not going to be painless, but these extractions often have to take place in Scorpio season. And sometimes it's like too deep, or it's too scary or severe to kind of look at. And this year might be, only about recognition for you. So a lot of us astrologers, we're very tempted to be like, this must be the season where you have to resolve all of this and you have to level up in this way and that way, but not necessarily. Like this year could just be about the recognition for you of something, and then it's going to take you another year roughly to finally come out of it. And some things do take that long for us, and later action can be taken. I was also looking recently at this Instagram post about like words that cannot really be translated into English or other languages from their own language. And there's this Czech word, and I'm not Czech. I don't know anything about Czech, by the way. Trigger warning. I think it's litost. Anyone who speaks Czech can let me know. But this word litost, which is like a fusion of anguish, torment, shame, and it's like perfectly Scorpionic, I feel. I just felt that when I was looking at that the other day. And it's like also, the perfect opportunity for Scorpio risings in particular to examine their personality or their health or something else that's first house, because this is your first house season as a Scorpio rising. And a lot of that investigation of the self can be where you go down into that well of like anguish, torment, shame, or you have those explorations of feelings or those reflections. Also, Scorpio season has many kind of lighter or whimsical things, I feel. There's this unleashing a lot of the time, and this releasing through things like partying or like an intense sudden urge to do something daring and exciting, It's kind of like doing things out of the ordinary as well, like dressing up and being a bit kooky. Also, cuteness is very Scorpionic, very Scorpio season. This is the Scorpio-Taurus axis we're talking about here. So the bat, the vampire, and all these things can be associated with Scorpio season, but also Scorpio can be kind of like a cute bat emoji or a bat plushie, It can be very cute and Halloweeny, or cute and shadowy, There's this word in Korean. So I live here in Korea. It's a hachanta, which is like often translated as pathetic, but it's used a lot these days by younger generations to describe someone or something that like is kind of like smaller, or quote unquote lower, but in a cute way. It's kind of like sometimes something or someone that's so cute you could kill it, or so cute you could squish it to death, kind of thing. These kind of things can come up for people in Scorpio season. You just find someone or something that is just exhibiting that and getting this kind of intense internal reaction from you just by looking at it or seeing it. And also this is like really coming through in Scorpio season for friends. Very typical in Scorpio season, like really coming through. Maybe a friend needs financial help, or some spiritual guidance in some sense, family in need. And this is stuff like asking probing and sincere, kind of bold questions. I would avoid trying to be clever or trying to, this is like people who study psychology, and they think that because they've studied psychology, they can, crack anyone and everyone, and it just becomes this creepy affair. I would avoid that kind of thing, or trying to like slot or categorize people based on, what we're doing now, zodiac signs, or based on like MBTI, or based on this or that, or class, and try not to be clever. Oh, my light has just gone. Try not to be clever. Stay in the dark, Stay keeping a low profile. Stay, in some ways in Scorpio season, focused on what you need to do and like your quote unquote bag and your what's on your plate, and staying in your lane. So as I said before, Scorpio season is an industrious kind of season. Just give me 1 second. It's an industrious kind of season. or it's a season that is like perfect for industriousness. There we go. Perfect for industriousness. If you want to, there's my little pumpkin. By the way, this little pumpkin, one of my students, so I'm an elementary school teacher, one of my students, she made this for me and gave it to me a couple of days before Halloween, actually. Very sweet. And this Pikachu you see here on the right is a gift from my first ever co-teacher here in Korea. He sent that with a couple of them, actually, and also a mouse, this really cool Pokemon mouse, because I love Pokemon. Anyway, yeah, Pokemon as well, very cute, cutesy type stuff. Anyway, anywho, yeah, what was I talking about? Industriousness, yes. The Scorpio season is a great season to, just like Taurus season, it's a great season to get into industrious mindsets or industrious energies, diligence, basically, like head down, just focus on like who and what you need to focus on. Sometimes it's about like your small, tight circle, and that's it. And you don't need to pretend, or you don't need to overextend any more than you have done. And remember, we are now in the latter half of the astrological year. So this is something I've said for a long time on my channel now, but like it's about starting to begin this spiritual unwinding and unraveling and calming down and going more within in a spiritual sense, and being less like extravagant and less expending. And also Scorpio season can be about like making a lot of money and hoarding things. This can be like collections, collecting as a hobby kind of thing. Maybe something nostalgic creeps up back on you during this here Scorpio season. I would, for some of us, beware though of like those kind of collective collection hobbies that were obsessions in the past, and just be careful to not fall back into something that's going to really seriously eat away at your time or your money or your relationship. You know, this is like something obsessive that takes over our life. Also, this is like full enjoyment of things that I would describe personally as quite Scorpionic. So like mountains, but like in the sheer sense. So sheer environments. I'm thinking like Switzerland, Iceland, you know, these kinds of terrains, or the things that these terrains evoke. They can really come through for a lot of us in Scorpio season. And maybe some of you would do really well to go to some kind of really sheer environment or country even this time. And also we have like plenty pursuit of sexual desires in Scorpio season, and playful flirting, and it couldn't be a video about Scorpio without talking about sex, right? But like engrossing conversations and getting a lot of what you want when you want it. Please be safe, some of you. Some of us, please let us be safe in those endeavors. And also this is a discovery of like a new local gem, like a new cafe, a new restaurant, a new bar. And for some people, this is like finding a quieter gym, or like an oasis type of gym or space, or meditative park, or whatever it is, like a cozy pub, or like some really intimate music venue. Maybe finding a venue that has like real raw kind of musicians, performers. This is like also establishing or showing, sharing rather, good spots for meeting up. And also finding out the facts about the things that you've been curious about, or that you have long suspected. So these are some of the things that I think are going to come through in this here Scorpio season. I will be back shortly with another video on the full moon in Taurus, and she's very, very, very hot upon us. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to love you and leave you here. Have a nice day or night wherever you are. Bye-bye.